Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Craig Comrie, the Principal Officer of Profmed, and so welcome to this meeting. The formal welcomes will be done by our chairperson, just sitting to my right. It's my responsibility just to remind all that are attending in person and those that are attending online to abide by some of the ground rules. Overseeing this 53rd Annual General Meeting of Profmed is the Board of Trustees. They're all in the room here with us. Independent committee members who may be online, and then representatives from our external auditors, PwC. A special welcome to a representative from the Council for Medical Schemes, Ms. Kiyorato Godina Bokau. While we face some really tough challenges in the country, the Profmed story emerges as one of stability and growth and positivity as well. This meeting is coordinated under the direction of many who have put this together, and so I'd like to thank both OMT, who are our IT providers, for all their work on making sure this meeting works properly, the administrator, PPSHA, who have also provided this venue for us to have the meeting. So as to the meeting etiquettes, there are approximately 72 members who RSVP'd for the meeting, and many are still joining us as we speak. It is important that we do this in the right order so it can promote proper engagement from all those that need to participate in the meeting. So this year's engagements are facilitated by the Microsoft Teams platform. It is managed by a meeting administrator, and so everybody is muted at the start just to support the bandwidth. Make sure that your cameras are switched off at this part of the meeting. If you're struggling to hear or even to participate, there is a specific telephone number that you can use. We'll also drop that into the Q&A section. It's 010-020-3498, and you'll find that telephone number in the Q&A section. The meeting is being recorded, both audio, visuals, texts, and all the participants will receive or have access to the minutes of the meeting. So all the engagements are recorded so that it forms part of these minutes. The Microsoft Teams platform allows you to move your mouse to the top of your screen and open up the Q&A function, and post in that function are some of the other links that relate to the meeting matters as well. So please, if you do have questions, pose them in the Q&A section, and right at the end of the meeting, we'll actually deal with those questions. When you post a question or a comment, please provide your name, following by your comment and question, and so we can actually keep that for record purposes. Voting of the resolutions all closed earlier yesterday. The results have been audited by PwC and will be announced later in the meeting. Should you feel aggrieved in any way in how the meeting was conducted, please use the email Profmed AGM 2024@pwc.com. And so it will be dealt with through the external auditors who oversee this meeting. The mailbox is monitored by these independent auditors. We also welcome any compliments that you may have. I'm going to pause now and hand over the rest of the meeting to our chairman, Mr. Harvey.
Good day, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome from me, Gavin Harvey, to the 53rd Annual General Meeting of Profmed. We welcome the Profmed Board of Trustees who are in attendance, along with our independent auditors, Deloitte, and Mr. Rob Tjennison, the chairperson of our Audit and Risk Committee. We also welcome other committee members who may be in attendance. We acknowledge the attendance of Mr. Isak Smit, the CEO of PPS, and Ms. Simi Basadev, the CEO of our administrator, PPSHA, along with other management and staff of Profmed. I am the chairperson of Profmed, and in terms of Rule 28.1.3 of the rules of Profmed, I will be the chairperson for this meeting. The minutes of the last annual general meeting are available for inspection. If you'd like a copy, please email agm2024@profmed.co.za or visit the Profmed website. We've also provided a link to the minutes in the Q&A section on the right-hand side of your screen. One apology was received for this meeting by Mr. Pierre Marais, the chairperson of the Remuneration Committee. If there are any further apologies, please use the Q&A function to indicate the name of the member and their membership number. With respect to the constitution of this meeting, I'm informed that in terms of Rule 28.1.4, proper notice was given for this meeting. In terms of Rule 28.1.6 of the Rules of Profmed, I'm informed that a quorum is present. This is the 53rd Annual General Meeting of the members of Profmed, pursuant to the provision of the Rules of Profmed. As set out in the notice convening the meeting, this meeting has been called for the following purposes: to receive and adopt the annual financial statements for the year ending 31 December, including the reports of the trustees, the Audit and Risk Committee, and the auditor in terms of item 1 of the notice. To agree and approve the appointment of Deloitte as an external auditor for the year ending 31 December 2025 in terms of Rule 27.9 of the Rules of Profmed in terms of item 2 of the notice. To accept the Profmed remuneration policy by means of a non-binding advisory vote in terms of item 3 of the notice. To approve the remuneration of the trustees for the 2024-2025 year in terms of item 4 of the notice. To announce the appointment of 2 trustees in accordance with Rule 20.1.3 in terms of item 5 of the notice. And to transact such other business as may be transacted at the annual general meeting in terms of item 6 of the notice. Should you want to access the documents pertaining to the resolutions, a URL to the scheme's website has been provided in the Q&A section on the right-hand side of your screen. In terms of Rule 28.1.4 of the Rules of Profmed, the notice convening this meeting has already been made available to you, and I move that it be taken as read. In terms of Rule 29.4 of the Rules of Profmed, a poll has been taken in respect of each resolution tabled at this meeting. Independent auditors have been appointed to audit the polls, and I will announce the results after each resolution. Moving on to the chairperson's report. The healthcare environment has been characterized by significant economic and political uncertainty over the past few years. The subsequent uncertainty relating to regulatory reforms such as the National Health Insurance Bill, high unemployment rates and inflation has required resilience from our members and the Board of Trustees of Profmed. Demand-side factors such as age, gender, chronic status, and anti-selective behavior in conjunction with supply-side factors such as health technology, pricing, and provider-driven increases in utilization are driving above-inflation increases in healthcare costs for medical schemes in general. These risks are exacerbated by financial and economic pressures, as well as a worsening chronic disease profile in the South African population. The affordability pressures facing South Africans necessitate that we find a balance between Profmed's short and long-term sustainability. We recognize that the economic situation is likely to continue to stifle membership growth and increase retention risk. But simultaneously, we must manage cost increase across the value chain and expand access to quality healthcare. We remain committed to acting in the best interests of our members through a well-considered investment strategy, which will assist in offsetting some of the anticipated future claims costs. The successful financial performance of the scheme resulted in a net surplus of 186.3 million when compared to the original budgeted deficit of 4.03 million. The head of our finance department, Mr. Vashni Ramdani, will later explain to you in terms of the new disclosures why you won't find the 186.3 million disclosed as a surplus. Over the past few years, we've taken marginally higher increases in the marketplace to stabilize our reserves. As per the audited financial statements, you will see that 2023 was a good year for Profmed. The scheme solvency ratio was expected to drop below 33%. However, the strong financial performance for the year strengthened our position to end 2023 with a 39.3% solvency ratio. This puts us in a position to innovate and create competitive products, which in turn will place us at the forefront of the South African healthcare system. The landscape for public and private healthcare will need to be agile considering the lack of policy created by the NHI. If South Africa is to achieve effective levels of universal care, then innovation, competition, and collaborative partnerships are fundamental. It's essential that we manage the ongoing impact of diseases in terms of utilization, treatments and funding, as well as driving opportunities such as digital health capabilities to optimize access and efficiencies and offer new platforms for healthcare service delivery. Extensive work has been done by the scheme in partnership with PPSHA to continue to develop various care pathways. One such product is the Healing at Home initiative that is available to our members. This initiative facilitates home admissions to enable the effective management of patients in a familiar environment with 24-hour monitoring and oversight provided by the admitting doctors. While uptake of home-based services in South Africa has been slow, we believe there's potential for up to 30% of appropriate admission types to shift over time from in-hospital to home-based care settings. Healing at Home is one example of how we're integrating new technology to enhance access, member experience, and quality of care without replacing the patient-doctor relationship. As a medical scheme for professionals, the board is committed to enhance the services provided to our members. The 2023 strategy included the implementation of a more member-focused administration and managed healthcare service level agreement. PPSHA has embraced this key strategic area and implemented several initiatives to speed up processes while improving the overall member experience, which you will hear about during Mrs. Basadev's presentation a little later. Operationally, the scheme takes enormous pride in the quality of service that is delivered to its members. The team at Profmed works to improve every service area with exceptional staff, robust systems for optimal support and service. I would like to highlight the following key service statistics for 2023 that focused on enhanced member experience. More than 5.3 million claim lines were processed last year. 99% of new membership applications were processed within 48 hours. 8 out of 10 calls were resolved during the first contact. 98% of our members who rated our service indicated this experience as satisfactory or excellent. The turnaround time on emails has decreased from 5 days down to 3 hours. The healthcare industry is a highly regulated environment, and medical schemes must comply with an ever-increasing flow of new legislation and regulations. This not only places a burden of responsibility on medical schemes, but also contributes to non-healthcare costs, which in turn impact members' benefits and contributions. In this volatile environment, success is dependent on the strength of our leadership and ability to be resilient, responsive, and agile. The Principal Officer, Mr. Craig Crombie, together with his dedicated team, continue to strive to improve the services experienced by our members while creating efficiencies to keep our non-healthcare expenditure low. Profmed's non-healthcare expenditure for 2023 dropped below the target of 10% set by this board to 9.69% of net contribution income, which is among the lowest in the industry. Despite the challenges that face the medical scheme industry, Profmed's trustees are optimistic as to the future of the scheme and believe it is well positioned to succeed and contribute to the dynamic era of change within the healthcare environment. In conclusion, I extend my gratitude to every member of Profmed, my colleagues on the board and the independent committee members, the Principal Officer and the Profmed staff, and our primary partner, PPSHA, for their unwavering support and commitment to Profmed. The annual financial statements of Profmed for the year ending 31 December 2023, including the reports of the trustees, the external auditor, and the Audit and Risk Committee, were included in the annual integrated report, which was made available to all members. Highlight of Profmed's results were also made available to all members. I will take the annual financial statements as read. Any queries relating to these annual financial statements will be responded to at the end of the session. We also have attending today representatives from the scheme's external auditors, Deloitte, and the Chief Financial Officer of our Administrator, who will assist in responding to questions in this regard. The auditor has reported on the financial statements and accounts examined by them, and their comments were included in the annual financial statements. An introduction to IFRS 17, which is a new accounting standard that we have implemented. I will now hand you over to the head of our Finance Department, Avashni, who will explain to you why the finances look different this year compared to 2022.
Thank you, Gavin. Good afternoon, everyone. The Profmed annual financial statements are prepared in compliance with the International Financial Reporting Standards (IFRS) in conjunction with the reporting requirements as set out by the Council for Medical Schemes. The scheme financial statements had previously been prepared in compliance with IFRS 4 insurance contracts, and in January 2023, IFRS 17, the new insurance accounting standard, came into effect, replacing IFRS 4. In terms of the requirements of IFRS 17, for accounting reporting, the scheme has been designated as a mutual entity. Medical schemes do present very similar attributes to that of a mutual entity, such as the scheme is owned by members as there are no shareholders, and the scheme is not for profit. Any surpluses or profits generated by the scheme are reinvested into the scheme to enhance the benefits. It is important to note that the application of this mutual entity definition is for accounting reporting only and does not impact the legal definition or operations of the scheme. IFRS 17 has introduced new terminology as well as changes to the disclosure in the annual financial statements. Most notably, in terms of the changes, you will note is that as a mutual entity under IFRS 17, the accumulated member funds are referred to as insurance contract liabilities in the statement of financial position, as you will find on page 8 of the highlights document. Another significant change is that the 186.3 million net surplus result of the scheme for the 2023 financial year is not shown as a net surplus, but rather this amount is reflected as amounts attributable to future members in the statement of comprehensive income on page 9 of your highlights document. In this transition phase of the application of IFRS 17, references are still made to the IFRS 4 terminology in the annual financial statements to allow for a greater understanding of the results of the scheme. You can access the 2023 annual integrated report as well as the highlights document on the Profmed website for any further information. Thank you. I will hand you back to the chairperson now.
Thank you, Vashni, for that excellent introduction to IFRS 17. And considering that the financial statements have been shared, I now propose that this meeting receives and adopts the annual financial statements of Profmed for the year ending 31 December 2023, including the reports of the trustees, the Audit and Risk Committee, and the external auditor. Tony du Plessis has agreed to second this resolution. Poll on this resolution has been taken. The results of the poll on the resolution to receive and adopt the annual financial statements of Profmed for the year ending 31 December 2023, including the reports of the trustees, the Profmed Audit and Risk Committee, and the external auditor are as follows: 107 votes for, 1 vote against, and 14 abstentions. I declare that this resolution has been passed by a majority. Resolution 2, the appointment of the auditors. In terms of Rule 27.1, a resolution is required to appoint external auditors. I now propose that Deloitte be appointed as the auditor of Profmed for the 2025 year in terms of Rule 27.1 of the rules of the scheme. Natasha van Rooyen has agreed to second this resolution. The poll on this resolution has been taken. The result of the poll on the resolution to appoint Deloitte as the auditor of Profmed is 103 votes for, 8 votes against, 11 abstentions. I declare that this resolution has been passed by a majority. Resolution 3, acceptance of Profmed remuneration policy by means of a non-binding advisory vote. I now propose that the Profmed remuneration policy be accepted. Ruwaid Essa has agreed to second this resolution. The poll on this resolution has been taken. The result of the poll in respect of the non-binding advisory vote for the adoption of Profmed remuneration policy is 92 votes for, 7 votes against, and 23 abstentions. I declare that this resolution has been passed by a majority. Resolution 4, approval of the remuneration of trustees for the 24-25 year. The poll on this resolution has been taken. I now propose that the remuneration of the trustees for this period be approved. Irina Hendricks has agreed to second this resolution. The results of the poll on the resolution to approve the remuneration of the trustees for the 2024-2025 year is 86 votes for, 8 votes against, 28 abstentions. I declare that this resolution has been passed by a majority. I shall now deal with appointment of trustees in accordance with the provisions of rules of Profmed. Profmed has 8 trustees, of which 4 are elected by members, while the other 4 are appointed by the board. The trustees have appointed the following 2 new trustees, Ms. M.D. Maidi and Ms. T. Simalani. We bid farewell to Professor William Gamedi and Mr. Musa Gina. Prof. Gamedi, who as some of you may recognize from his work in the political arena, has dedicated the past 10 years to sitting on the Profmed's board, as well as various subcommittees, and has provided exceptional insight over the years. Mr. Gina is a chartered accountant and served the last 7 years on the board, and has been a stalwart of the Audit and Risk Committee, where he has made significant contribution. We thank them both for their long-standing commitment to the board. We welcome in their places Ms. Mahdi, Ms. Simalani, whose respective financial, legal and governance expertise will be invaluable to the Profmed board. If a motion is to be placed before the annual general meeting, a notice of motion must reach the principal officer not later than 14 days prior to the date of the meeting, and must be seconded by a member of the scheme. There were no valid motions received. This year we have 2 very informative presentations. I would like to introduce our first presenter, former chairperson of Profmed, an industry expert from Health Navigator, Ms. Esme Prince van der Berg, who will be updating us on how will the change in the political landscape impact healthcare reform.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for this opportunity to present to you on healthcare reform this afternoon. Let me just share my presentation. Thank you. I'm sure it's all visible. So I've been asked to speak briefly this afternoon on how the change in the political landscape will impact healthcare reform. So the few points that I would like to discuss this afternoon is what is my understanding of healthcare reform, then the changes in the political landscape, how this could potentially impact what's on the agenda, other considerations that need to be considered by the government in terms of implementing major healthcare reform, and a few concluding remarks. So in terms of what healthcare reform are we talking about this afternoon, I definitely interpret this to refer to national health insurance. This has been the agenda item that's been dominating the health policy debates over the last few months in particular. So in terms of implementation of national health insurance, we have a National Health Insurance Act now, which has been signed by the President. And this entails major reform for the public and private health sectors in South Africa. The Act has not been implemented to date, so we are awaiting implementation dates or dates to be actually announced in the Government Gazette. We expect actually that multiple dates will be announced so that the Act will be implemented incrementally. Pending the implementation of the Act, we still need to have regulations and go through the regulation process. We haven't received any draft regulations yet for comment. And also there will be other changes to other laws that will be necessary to implement the major reform that's anticipated. Further, there are several court cases expected. There are already 2 cases have been lodged, have been instituted in the courts to date, and several others are likely to follow. And part of these cases will be the challenge in terms of a person's right to have a medical scheme cover, the right to private health insurance will definitely be challenged in court. And all of these will definitely lead to delays in the implementation of major healthcare reform and then in the form of national health insurance. If we then consider the changes in the political landscape, by way of introduction, I just want to make a comment around the bill when it was passed by the National Council of Provinces in Parliament. So how this is made up in the National Council of Provinces are that there are representatives that had to come with certain mandates from the different provinces. And due to the way that the representation is actually constituted or the representatives are made up, the ruling party has the most seats in, or the relevant ruling party in the province. It dominates the seats in that particular province. And hence, it's actually a ruling party vote. So the provinces voted 9-1 in favor of adoption of the bill. If we look at the parties who received the most votes in the recent elections, two of the parties, namely the DA and the EFF, actually were against the adoption of the bill, but their votes didn't carry because they were not dominant in the discussions on the particular National Council of Provinces. In considering the implications going forward, I would like to use this dashboard from Becky Sisa. It's a Centre for Healthcare Journalism. So what they have done is that they've prepared a dashboard on key points of the different political parties in terms of their election manifestos. And if you look at this dashboard, there are 3 items around healthcare, namely universal healthcare, HIV and TB. So I would like to just speak about universal healthcare this afternoon, and specifically then looking at the ANC, the DA, the EFF and the MK party who received the most votes. So if we look at the election manifestos of these parties, we see that the ANC definitely supported universal healthcare and the implementation of the NHI Act within 5 years, and then access for everybody to basic healthcare services. But what was interesting that in the polls leading up to the elections, we've seen a change in the way that the ANC has actually campaigned up until the 29th of May. So it was part of the key focus, hence the timing of the signing of the bill was like 2 weeks before the election date, and there was a ceremony to really draw attention to NHI. But then the polls just before the elections last week actually showed that the middle class were threatened by the fact that they would lose their private medical scheme cover. And hence, there was a dwindling of support for the ruling party. And if you look at those days leading up to the elections, NHI didn't feature as a key item on the ANC agenda. If we look at the DA also supporting universal health care, but in their mandate, they're not supporting the NHI Act and would like it to be scrapped. They're also designing their own health plan at present. They had one, but they are redesigning the plan apparently at present. And at what I can gather is we're looking at some kind of social health insurance system and what they refer to as state-run gap cover or social reinsurance. They've also been instrumental in lodging a complaint at the Public Service Commission against National Health Insurance due to the impact that National Health Insurance could have on civil servants. If we look at the MK party, so they supported in their election manifesto universal healthcare and the NHI Act, then specifically looking at an increase in healthcare workers and what they refer to as medical pluralism, so that you would actually have a choice of where you receive your care, being either a traditional kind of setting or the public or private healthcare sectors. The EFF manifesto also supported universal healthcare, specifically focusing on free basic healthcare services and more clinics, primary healthcare facilities at schools. Nothing specific around the Act, but as I've mentioned to you, they didn't support the Act when it was, or the bill when it was approved at the National Council of Provinces. So if we look at the potential change in the political landscape, it's quite clear that we will have coalition government on a national level and even in some of the provinces. There are various permutations. I don't want to speculate on those. We will definitely in the next week or so have more clarity around that. But in terms of forming coalition government, and depending on how this is made up, there will definitely be some trade-off or potential trade-offs on policy, including health policy matters, and potentially also ministerial positions. So even the Minister of Health and or the Minister of Finance could change in the coalition agreements. And that's significant for the introduction of healthcare reform in South Africa. Furthermore, the new government will also have to consider other matters when they want to introduce major healthcare reform. They would need to consider the macroeconomic implications for South Africa. How attractive is South Africa still as an investment destination? Taxes can only be increased to a certain level. So how much can we tolerate to fund major healthcare reform? The potential of job losses when national health insurance is actually introduced. The impact of people losing private healthcare cover. And we've already seen some response by the population in the lead up to the elections. And then very important is the potential of losing healthcare skills, critical healthcare skills, but not only healthcare skills, other skills in South Africa that will have definitely a significant impact on the economy. So all these things will need to be considered in terms of going forward or moving forward with the implementation of national health insurance. So, Mr. Chairman, by way of conclusion, I think the following weeks will be instructive in terms of health policy implementation and specifically major healthcare reform. We'll probably have a sense within the next week or 10 days in which direction it might go, but ultimately I think time will only tell us exactly what will be implemented and within which time frame. On that note, I thank you very much for this opportunity. I don't know if there's any time for discussion or questions, but I'm happy to try and field any of the questions that might come through.
Thank you, Esme. Thank you for the very insightful presentation. If there are any questions, we'll direct them your way a little bit later and you can answer them. Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Cheers. As a contracted administrator, Ms. Basidev will share the enhancements made to the PPS-HA systems to improve the members' experience. I'll now hand over to Simi.
Good afternoon to the Profmed Board of Trustees and members. I'm honoured on behalf of PPS Healthcare Administrators to present feedback on both the administration and managed healthcare services provided to Profmed over this past year. PPS Healthcare is a wholly owned subsidiary of the PPS Insurance Company, who in turn has had a mutually beneficial relationship with Profmed that has spanned many decades. PPS is the only mutual financial services company in South Africa that focuses exclusively on graduate professionals, providing tailor-made solutions to its members. This aligns perfectly with Profmed, as Profmed is the only medical scheme in South Africa dedicated to professionals. Our approach to healthcare servicing is based on the private banking model, which means offering a tailored, sophisticated, and client-centric experience designed to meet the unique and complex needs of the Profmed member. This approach is characterized by several key features, including a personalized attention and proactive and responsive service. Our response time on emails is approximately 3 hours from receipt of the email. Profmed is the only medical scheme in South Africa with this level of service. Our claim call loss or abandon rate is under 2%, which means that there are very few calls which are not answered. We have a full omni-channel offering, thus enabling members to engage with us in the medium which they prefer. We also have various self-service options, allowing the busy professional to be first serviced after hours. In our call center or client servicing team, we employ graduates, thus ensuring that professionals are speaking to professionals. The new member onboarding experience is excellent, with the process taking less than 1 day. We prefer human engagement with our online or web chat, unlike other schemes where the bot only provides static information, resulting in member frustration. Members and providers enjoy the quick and efficient service provided through the online chat. Our first call resolution ensures a single engagement for query resolution. We request member feedback on all engagements with us, thus enabling us to assess areas for improvement. The surveys show a very high satisfaction rate for both the client services and hospital pre-authorization teams, with our rating about 98% satisfaction. We also acknowledge that we do make errors, but we have a dedicated team for our service recovery in these instances. Our commitment to service excellence and dedication to meeting member needs have driven significant achievements and improvements in our service delivery over the years. Just like the millions of young people worldwide, South Africans, and especially the youth, face significant mental health challenges due to shared experiences like economic uncertainty, geopolitical instability, and pressures that social media bring. Mental health disorders thus pose significant health challenges in South Africa and globally. This has a direct impact on Profmed members as well as their dependents. The Profmed Wellbeing Program was introduced this year as a first initiative to address these mental health challenges. This benefit provides members and their dependents with access to a range of features to support their mental health journey. Benefits include mental well-being assessments, mood trackers, journaling, and personalized learning videos. Members who have registered for ADHD, depression, and bipolar mood disorder will also have access to additional support services, which include medicine reminders and adherence monitoring. I encourage each of you to log into the Profmed app and access the Wellbeing Program. This is the first phase of the program, and we thought it was important to focus on mental health. Looking ahead to Q4 of this year and early 2025, we are committed to continuing our journey of excellence and innovation. Our focus will continue with well-being enhancements using technology to bring access closer to you. Our digital screen analysis will enable better access to a health assessment. By leveraging the power of artificial intelligence and data-driven insights, this will empower individuals to know their health status, then take care of their health with a focus on primary and preventative care. PPS and Profmed have a mutualistic symbiotic relationship where both parties benefit, ensuring shared success. Tailored solutions like the PPS Wallet and PPS Gap have enhanced the Profmed offering to its members. Profmed has been and continues to be an important partner to PPS. Qualifying Profmed members have access to profit share for being a Profmed member, as well as access to the PPS Cross Holdings Booster should they have other qualifying products. Looking ahead, our focus remains on delivering exceptional value to Profmed, supporting Profmed members, and driving sustainable growth for the scheme. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Simi. Thank you very much for that, for sharing some of the enhancements that PPSHA have implemented for the benefit of all our members. Moving on, just into general now. The meeting is now open for questions and comments. If you have any questions, please post them in the Q&A section of the screen. Again, confirm that all questions raised will form the Board of Trustees at the board meeting tomorrow.
Maybe just in addition, just to say that there's lots of questions about the NHI, and we are hosting a special session for all members, and that's scheduled for next week. Please look at the website and your mailboxes. You can click on the link to register. We already have 550 people that have registered for that session, and we plan to hold a weekly session just to make sure that we keep on answering questions and provide assurances that medical schemes are here to stay for the long term. So please look out for that email in your inboxes and respond and attend if you have any questions. We don't have any other questions coming through the Q&A session. If there is, please just put it on the relevant email address, and you'll find that in the Q&A box, and we will endeavour to try and answer those in time and make sure that they form part of the minutes of the board meeting that will be shared tomorrow with the Board of Trustees.
Thank you, Craig. In closing, there being no additional items for this meeting, I declare the meeting closed. Thank you for everybody who participated. We look forward to seeing you again.